the late 1960s, U.S. forces fighting in Vietnam were encountering strange human-like monsters known as rock apes.
American cryptids, from frozen monsters to flying horrors, Bigfoot isn't the only mysterious creature lurking in America's forests and lakes. Across the decades, eyewitnesses have reported encounters with monsters both icy and fiery, terrestrial and aquatic. Perhaps the most infamous of these is the Minnesota Iceman, a creature that blurred the line between myth, science, and showmanship. Imagine standing in a dimly lit garage in Minnesota in the winter of 1968, staring at a massive, hairy, human-shaped body trapped in a block of ice. Its frozen stare seemed to pierce right through reality. This is not your ordinary folklore. This is a story that intertwines cryptozoology, carnival curiosity, and genuine scientific intrigue. The Iceman, if real, would be a new species. If fake, it represents one of the most ingenious hoaxes of the 20th century. Either way, it captures the imagination because it dares us to ask, what if our world still holds creatures that science has not yet documented? In the following minutes, we'll explore the chilling tale of the Minnesota Iceman, the terror of the Flatwoods monster, and the mysterious depths of the Lake Michigan sea serpent. Each story challenges our understanding of the natural world, blurring the line between reality and legend. The Minnesota Iceman, America's frozen mystery. In the bitter winter of 1968, the Midwestern United States was a patchwork of snow-dusted towns, frozen rivers, and the hum of small town life trying to continue despite the ice and cold. Into this quiet, snowy landscape rolled a peculiar refrigerated trailer, a curious sight on rural roads and fairgrounds. Its owner, Frank D. Hansen, was a man of considerable charm and a remarkable gift for storytelling. Hansen was the kind of showman who could captivate a crowd with tales of the unbelievable, blending fact, rumor, and sheer spectacle until it became almost impossible to distinguish one from the other. But what he carried in the back of that trailer was unlike anything most Americans had ever seen. Inside lay what Hansen claimed was the preserved body of a mysterious human-like creature encased in a thick block of ice. The figure stood roughly 6 feet tall, with a broad, barrel-like chest, massive hands and feet, and a dense covering of dark hair that suggested both strength and resilience. Its features were a strange mixture of human and primitive: a pronounced brow, a wide nose, and a face that seemed halfway between Neanderthal and something entirely unknown. Hansen called this entity the Minnesota Iceman, a name that would become synonymous with one of the most enduring mysteries in American cryptozoology. The origins of the Iceman, according to Hansen, were as fluid as the ice encasing him. On some days, the story went that a Russian seal hunting crew had discovered the frozen corpse adrift in Siberian waters, preserving it and shipping it unknowingly to the West. Other times, Hansen claimed that the creature had been recovered from a Japanese whaling ship, or perhaps stored in a Hong Kong meat locker, an exotic backstory to match the creature's strange appearance. Occasionally, Hansen would assert that the Iceman had been found somewhere in the jungles of Vietnam, a region where he himself had spent time during his military service. No two stories ever fully aligned, yet there was a consistency in the spectacle: the frozen figure, the ice, and the unspoken implication that this was something extraordinary. Skeptics rolled their eyes, dismissing Hansen as a carnival barker spinning improbable tales. But for those who saw the creature in person, the mystery was irresistible. Could a hominid from the Ice Age have survived into modern times, traveling unnoticed across continents? Could Hansen's trailer really house a relic of a lost species? The Iceman first caught the attention of the cryptozoological community thanks to Terry Cullen, a young naturalist with a keen eye for oddities. Cullen encountered the exhibit at a livestock exposition in Chicago and immediately suspected it was more than a carnival curiosity. There was something in the way the creature was posed, the way its limbs rested in the ice, and the uncanny lifelike details that hinted at authenticity. Convinced that the Iceman warranted further investigation, Cullen alerted Ivan T. Sanderson, a British zoologist and one of the pioneering figures in modern cryptozoology. Sanderson had built a career examining the edges of natural science, documenting sightings of unclassified animals and advocating for the serious study of the unknown. In December 1968, Sanderson visited Hansen's off-season garage exhibit, accompanied by Belgian zoologist Bernard Heuvelmans, a man widely regarded as the father of cryptozoology. Heuvelmans had already published extensively on the potential existence of undiscovered animals, and his presence lent a measure of credibility to the investigation. The two men spent hours examining the creature through the cracked plexiglass, their breaths fogging up as they studied every detail. The first observation that caught their attention was the creature's eye. One eyeball appeared to dangle grotesquely from its socket, an injury that suggested trauma, possibly even a violent death. The arm on the same side was clearly broken, a fracture visible even through the ice, which they later speculated could have been a result of blunt force or some type of struggle. The hands were enormous, each finger tipped with thick, yellowed nails, and the thumb appeared almost manicured in its shape. The palms were broad, with thick pads that suggested the creature might have walked on all fours at times, echoing the locomotion of a great ape. As Heuvelmans and Sanderson leaned closer, the ice suddenly cracked under the weight of the cold and the fragile display case. A pungent stench erupted into the room, the unmistakable odor of decomposing flesh. Both men recoiled but could not ignore the evidence. To them, this was no mere prop. It was a frozen remnant of a species previously unknown to science. The details were too precise, too anatomically convincing to dismiss outright. Sanderson noted the creature's flat, ape-like nose and broad brow, features that did not resemble any modern human yet were disturbingly familiar. Heuvelmans took the investigation further. In 1969, he published a description of the Iceman in a Belgian scientific journal, naming the creature Homo pongoides, which roughly translates to ape like man. He argued that the specimen could be a living Neanderthal, preserved through the ages by some improbable twist of survival and circumstance. It was, in his view, a frozen relic that challenged the established timeline of human evolution. Heuvelmans would later co-author a book in 1974, The Neanderthal Man is Still Alive, alongside Russian historian and crypto-hominid researcher Boris Porchanev. The book delved into every detail of the Iceman's physiology, its possible origins, and its implications for our understanding of human history. Yet skepticism quickly arose. Dr. John Napier, a respected primatologist at the Smithsonian Institution, examined the creature and concluded it was a HOAX, a latex dummy, expertly crafted but ultimately artificial. Hansen, however, was not easily deterred. He claimed that Napier had seen only a replica, insisting that the real Iceman had been removed from circulation due to concerns over potential legal ramifications, including the possibility that the creature's death could be considered a homicide. Over time, photographs of the Iceman only added to the confusion. Some images showed the creature with its mouth open, others with it closed. The position of the eyes, the expression of the face, even the way the hands were posed. Everything seemed to shift slightly depending on who was taking the picture. Was Hansen protecting a genuine discovery, or was this an elaborate carnival trick crafted to captivate the public? The answer remains elusive. To this day, no conclusive DNA testing or tissue analysis has been conducted, leaving the Iceman suspended in the liminal space between hoax and historic cryptid. Despite the controversy, the Minnesota Iceman left a lasting cultural impact. It inspired reports of similar creatures worldwide, feeding a growing body of cryptozoological literature. In northern Pakistan, accounts emerged of the Barmanu, a hairy, human-like creature whose features eerily mirrored those of the Iceman: broad chest, upturned nose, massive hands, and thick, dark hair covering the body. In the Caucasus Mountains and Mongolia, cryptozoologists like Porchanev Dmitry Bayanov and Marie-Jean Kaufman collected dozens of eyewitness testimonies describing mysterious hominids with strikingly similar characteristics. Each report added weight to the possibility that the Iceman might not have been an isolated anomaly, but part of a broader, hidden population of unknown hominids. The Iceman's influence extended beyond scholarly research. It became a template for interpreting reports of hairy people, wild men, and hominids across Asia, Europe, and the Americas. For cryptozoologists, it represented a tangible case study, a specimen that, if authentic, could rewrite aspects of human evolutionary history. Its legacy persists in popular culture as well. The image of the frozen, grotesque, yet oddly human creature became emblematic of the unknown lurking at the edges of our understanding. Even today, enthusiasts flock to the Museum of Weird in Austin, Texas, where the Iceman resides in a glass case, silent and immobile, yet continuing to spark debate, fascination, and speculation. The story of the Minnesota Iceman also highlights the tension between scientific rigor and public curiosity. On one hand, established institutions, like the Smithsonian, quickly dismissed the creature, concerned with protecting the integrity of their research and avoiding sensationalism. On the other hand, enthusiasts and cryptozoologists pursued every lead, driven by the tantalizing possibility of discovering a living, breathing connection to the ancient past. In this, the Iceman embodies the very essence of cryptozoology, a discipline perpetually balanced between skepticism and belief, empirical study and speculative adventure. Ultimately, whether the Iceman was real or a masterful hoax may be less important than the cultural and scientific conversation it continues to provoke. It challenges us to question what we think we know about the natural world, the limits of human understanding, and the mysteries that still lie hidden in remote forests, icy waters, and forgotten corners of the globe. In the story of the Minnesota Iceman, we see not only a frozen figure trapped in ice, but a frozen moment in human curiosity, a reminder that the world is larger, stranger, and more mysterious than we often allow ourselves to believe. In this sense, the Minnesota Iceman is more than a cryptid. It is a symbol of human fascination with the unknown, a frozen emblem of the thrill and terror of discovery, and a mirror reflecting our desire to believe that there are still secrets left in the world, waiting for those bold enough to seek them out. The tale continues to inspire, perplex, and captivate those willing to venture into the gray area between science and legend. As Hansen's trailer once rolled through the snowy towns of the Midwest, so too does the story of the Minnesota Iceman roll through the collective imagination, leaving behind a trail of questions that may never be fully answered. The Flatwoods Monster, America's Alien Encounter. If the Minnesota Iceman chilled your bones, the Flatwoods Monster will make your imagination sprint. The year was 1952, a time when America was perched on the razor's edge of Cold War paranoia. Nuclear drills were part of daily life. The Red Scare had people questioning their neighbors, and flying saucers dominated magazine covers and late-night radio programs. Into this tense landscape, Braxton County, West Virginia, a small, sleepy town of roughly 300 residents nestled deep in the Appalachian Hills, experienced a night that would echo through decades of folklore, UFO speculation, and cryptid lore. The date was September 12, 1952. That evening began innocuously, with children playing outdoors in the fading light, families finishing dinner, and the Appalachian Hills settling into the quiet hum of dusk. But soon, a strange phenomenon tore through the serenity. 3 local boys, Ed May, Freddie May, and Tommy Hyrer, were among the first to notice it. A glowing red light, moving low and fast across the sky, seemed to arc downward, crashing somewhere into a nearby wooded hill. The boys stared in awe and fear, a phenomenon that was both spectacular and terrifying. Knowing instinctively that something extraordinary had occurred, the boys ran home. They grabbed Ed and Freddie's mother, Kathleen May, a woman known for her practical mindset and courage. Kathleen, sensing the urgency and excitement in the boys' voices, reluctantly followed them up the hill. As the group ascended into the misty darkness of the Appalachian forest, the scale of what awaited them became apparent. Soon, the group grew to include Gene Lemon, a 17-year-old National Guardsman with a strong sense of duty and curiosity, along with several other local boys. Even a dog named Ricky joined the expedition, though he was clearly reluctant to venture too far. Together, the party moved through dense fog and damp undergrowth, following a trail illuminated by the lingering red glow in the sky. And then it appeared. The first glimpse was enough to terrify anyone. The creature, a being unlike anything in the known animal kingdom, loomed in the mist. Witnesses described it as standing roughly 10 feet tall, with a glowing green face that seemed almost ethereal against the darkening woods. Its body was a vivid, almost iridescent blood red, and its hands ended in claws that appeared capable of rending flesh or gripping with immense strength. Surrounding the being was a thick mist, metallic in odor, which hung in the forest like a shroud. Ricky, the dog, bolted immediately, yelping and barking in fear, leaving the human witnesses paralyzed by the sheer strangeness of the scene. Gene Lemon later recounted the encounter with vivid clarity. The sight of the glowing-eyed giant caused him to fall backward in terror, his heart hammering against his ribs. Others described similar reactions. Some froze, some screamed, and some simply stared in disbelief. The children's wide-eyed terror, combined with Kathleen May's calm yet anxious presence, created a tableau of human reaction to the impossible, a moment where the natural and the supernatural collided. By the following morning, news of the encounter had spread like wildfire. Local newspapers, including the Braxton Democrat, reported on the incident, dubbing the being Frankenstein-like. Due to its towering height, glowing features, and humanoid form, the story quickly transcended county lines. Radio shows, eager for sensational content, invited Kathleen May and Gene Lemon for interviews. Within days, the tale had reached national attention, drawing interest from both the curious public and government authorities. Among the entities that took the report seriously was Project Blue Book, the U.S. Air Force's official investigatory body tasked with cataloging and analyzing UFO sightings from 1952 to 1969. Unlike amateur enthusiasts, Project Blue Book agents approached the Flatwoods encounter with a mix of skepticism and professional concern. After all, during the height of the Cold War, an unidentified aerial phenomenon could indicate more than a natural or mystical anomaly. It might signal a foreign threat. Teams were dispatched to Braxton County to collect witness statements, examine the alleged crash site, and attempt to reconcile conflicting details. Despite the skepticism, some elements of the event were difficult to explain. Witnesses consistently described the creature with remarkable uniformity. Towering stature, glowing green eyes, clawed hands, and a red body surrounded by a strange mist. Beyond visual accounts, some noted physical traces. Vegetation at the site appeared disturbed, bent, or scorched as though affected by intense heat or energy. Some reported lingering chemical odors, described as metallic or acrid, suggesting something beyond ordinary smoke, fog, or decomposition. Even the psychological impact was notable. Those who saw the creature reported intense fear and physiological reactions, from rapid heartbeats to nausea, consistent across different individuals. Skeptics, of course, proposed alternative explanations. The West Virginia State Police suggested mass hysteria, claiming that the combination of a meteor sighting, fog, and frightened children had created a collective misperception. Others posited that the creature might have been a barn owl or other local wildlife illuminated by unusual light conditions from a meteor or distant searchlight. Such explanations attempted to rationalize the event without invoking extraterrestrial or cryptid phenomena, yet they struggled to account for the consistency and specificity of eyewitness reports. Beyond the immediate investigation, the Flatwoods monster began to permeate local culture. The town itself embraced the legend, recognizing both its tourist potential and its role in forming a unique identity. Museums were established, dedicated to the creature and other regional oddities. Figurines were mass-produced, depicting the towering being with its characteristic green face and red body, sold at local shops and fairs. Souvenirs, T-shirts, mugs, and even small statues became part of the town's economy, transforming fear and folklore into livelihood. Local residents, whether believers or skeptics, contributed to the narrative, ensuring that the monster became a permanent fixture in the Appalachian cultural landscape. What makes the Flatwoods monster particularly fascinating is the intersection of social, psychological, and environmental factors. The early 1950s were a time of pervasive anxiety amplified by Cold War fears, nuclear drills, and the omnipresence of popular media depicting aliens and otherworldly threats. In such a climate, the sight of a glowing, humanoid creature could plausibly trigger a combination of genuine observation and collective imagination. Yet, even in the context of hysteria, the detailed and consistent descriptions of multiple independent witnesses, including adults and teenagers, suggest that something remarkable occurred that night. Various theories have been proposed to explain the Flatwoods encounter. Some believe it was an extraterrestrial visitation, a genuine alien craft crashing in the Appalachian woods with a sentient pilot that temporarily revealed itself. Others suggest it was a cryptid, an unknown species of humanoid, perhaps an evolutionary offshoot or a relic of prehistoric times. Another line of thought posits that the being could have been a mutated animal, affected by environmental or chemical factors, resulting in the bizarre coloration, size, and aura described by witnesses. Each theory carries both appeal and limitations, and no consensus has ever emerged. Despite decades passing, the witnesses, those who experienced the encounter firsthand, remained steadfast in their accounts. Their recollections did not waver with time, and many went on to testify in interviews for documentaries, books, and television specials. The event's endurance in local memory is remarkable. While other UFO or cryptid reports fade with time, the Flatwoods monster has remained an icon, a point of identity and pride for the town, and a compelling case study for researchers of the unexplained. The Flatwoods monster demonstrates how folklore, psychology, and the unknown can converge in ways that capture public imagination. It is a reminder that legends are often rooted in real events, filtered through perception, fear, and social context. The story also underscores the role of media in amplifying extraordinary claims as newspapers, radio, and later television helped solidify the monster's place in national consciousness. Ultimately, the Flatwoods encounter invites both skepticism and wonder. Was it an alien visitation, a cryptid, a trick of light, or a collective misperception heightened by fear? Perhaps it was all of these things, existing in the gray space where reality and imagination intertwine. The legend persists not merely because of the event itself, but because of the human response to the unknown, the terror, fascination, and desire to explain what cannot be explained. Today, Braxton County embraces the story as part of its heritage. The Flatwoods Monster Museum continues to draw thousands of visitors each year. The town celebrates the creature in local festivals, parades, and themed merchandise, turning an inexplicable event into a cornerstone of community identity. For residents and tourists alike, the monster represents both the mystery of the unknown and the enduring power of human storytelling. The Flatwoods monster is more than a figure of fear. It is a symbol of curiosity, a bridge between skepticism and belief, and a testament to the ways in which extraordinary events can shape the culture and identity of a community. It remains one of America's most intriguing cryptid cases, a nightmarish yet captivating chapter in the annals of UFO history. and a narrative that continues to challenge our understanding of reality, perception, and the boundaries of the possible. In the end, the legacy of the Flatwoods monster is a combination of myth, memory, and mystery. It reminds us that even in a world increasingly explained by science, there remain moments that defy reason, where the impossible seems to brush against the edge of perception. And for those willing to look closely, Braxton County offers a glimpse into one such night. A night when a red light streaked across the sky, a giant emerged from the mist, and an ordinary Appalachian town became the epicenter of an enduring legend. The Lake Michigan Sea Serpent Legend of the Depths. Lake Michigan, one of North America's largest and most iconic bodies of freshwater, is often celebrated for its pristine beaches, serene waves, and breathtaking vistas. Tourists flock to its shores during the summer months, fishing boats dot the horizon, and families enjoy its gentle waves. Yet beneath its seemingly calm surface lies a mystery that has both terrified and fascinated those who traverse its waters for over a century and a half. The legend of the Lake Michigan Sea Serpent stretches back more than 160 years, a story of a creature that refuses to be fully explained. Accounts of the serpent vary in detail, but the underlying consistency is striking. Witnesses report a massive, serpentine form gliding through the lake's cold, churning waters, often vanishing as suddenly as it appeared. Its body is described as long, twisting, and undulating, sometimes breaking the surface in a sinuous display. Some observers claim to have seen a head rising above the waves, followed by a rippling back that stretches farther than the eye can follow. There are accounts of waves disrupted for seemingly no reason, nets torn or snagged, and an eerie presence that fills the observer with unease. Fishermen are among the most frequent witnesses, spending long hours on Lake Michigan, their lives intimately tied to its rhythms. Many describe nights when the water's surface seemed to come alive with movement that could not be explained by ordinary fish, waves, or logs. Some have reported nets mysteriously shredded or snagged by forces beneath the water, as if something enormous had passed through. Others recount seeing dark shapes beneath the water that moved with a deliberate intelligence, diving and surfacing in ways that seem purposeful rather than random. These encounters are often fleeting, moments of terror, awe, and disbelief, but they repeat with uncanny regularity along the lake's vast expanse. Skeptics have long argued that these sightings can be attributed to misidentifications of known animals, such as sturgeon, eels, or large fish, or natural phenomena like floating logs, shifting waves, and optical illusions created by the interplay of light and water. While such explanations account for some encounters,